Wait, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Shut for 1 second.
Real quick, shut your. Wait, shut your mouth. Shut your.
What did
You're
you
just
just
coming
say?
off stupid.
What's up, everybody? We are here. Let me fix this. Where is this style? That was quite a large name, wasn't it? How is everybody? Who's ready for the inaugural, the very first, on the same day that we get the first American Pope, the first legally speaking? Thank you to Wicked Virtue for the idea for the name. Thank you to Christian Rocker for the name of the channel. This has been an awesome week. I have had nothing but fun doing this stream or doing this channel. I want to say hi to the chat. Well, first off, before I even get to the chat, this is how big a deal this is. Before I even get to the chat, I want to thank everyone that subscribed to the channel over the last week. We are up to, last time I checked, I think it's 111 people. Yep, still 111. I've got a video that has gone up to over 200 views. This has been lights out fantastic. It's been incredible. I'm so happy y'all are enjoying it. Keep the comments coming. Keep the conversation. This is the hope and the purpose of this is to provide somewhere where you don't have to go to, where you don't have to spend 9 hours of legal research on Google using AI to tell you what stupid things mean, because we like to make things complicated so you can't do it yourselves. And so you don't have to go spend, $1,000 super chat to some LawTube channel so they can tell you something. Maybe we do super chats here later, but that's down the road. Okay, let me get to the chat. Risk It is the first person in the chat. Risk it for a biscuit. Bruce Wayne. I hope Bruce Wayne is having a good. Bruce has had a great time with some of the videos I've seen. Debbie from the land down under. Lily, Mash, KC, what is up? Comics Dad has just popped in. I actually need to come over to YouTube. Hang on, I gotta pull this up over on YouTube real quick. How do I do that again? Hang on. What do y'all think of the name of both the channel and the stream? Tom B is here. Okay, this is going to be loud in my ears. Okay. Where is the beautiful KC Cheeto? How's everyone doing? Risk It. I saw that. I saw that earlier. I think that is hilarious, but I think, at least for now, I think I'm going to stick with legally speaking. I remember saying it a lot in law school, and I just remember thinking, this is such a weird thing that we're constantly saying. So when Wicked mentioned it, I was like, oh my God, that's it. That is absolutely it. Plus, let's be honest, the thumbnail, it looks quite good on there. I will probably end up changing the colors, since right now it looks like I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, but we'll get into it. Okay, so everyone, legally, actually, that's KC. I actually didn't consider well, actually. Maybe I make a series of videos called Well Actually. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe when so there are two really good videos I've done on King's Advisors. One hit almost 70,000 views, and it was a trailer reaction to Reacher Season 1, to the trailer for that. The second was an explanation about why the OnlyFans chick, Sierra Mist, is a complete liar about her claims that she's the reason that Pepsi changed their name from, or that Pepsi changed the name of the soda from Sierra Mist to Starry. She tried making that claim. She is a downright liar. And so I made a video about that. Maybe what I'll do is if I do videos in that sort of stance, I will call them Well Actually. I like that. You know what? Where is my pen? Do I have a pen? I'm going to write that down. Give me 1 second, fellers. Okay. Well, actually, series on dumb people. Okay, so we're going to this is 100% a test run. I'm not entirely sure what this stream will always look like. I don't know if it's going to be pulling up court documents and talking about them like I did when I talked about the Gino Carano lawsuit. I don't know if it's going to be just looking through the news and laughing at people saying Trump can't do this or Trump can do this. We'll figure it out as we go along, guys. But the very first thing we're going to look at is, and I wish I could, we'll pause that. Okay, so the United States of America is being sued by a 41-year-old female attorney. Her name is Amanda S. Reynolds. Now, you might ask, why is she being sued? Or, sorry, why is she suing the United States? The U.S. must have done something bad. Like, they must have force-fed her something, or the FBI must have arrested her for something illegal or something. Nope. She's being sued because she cannot be a Navy SEAL. Wannabe G.I. Jane sues Navy after her dream of becoming the first female SEAL comes to a crashing end because she's old. So she's 41. She's 41, and she would not be able to enter buds or enlist enter buds and be done with everything by the time she is 42. Thoughts, guys? Also, woman? Press X to doubt. Let's see. So one of the things that I'm going to definitely do is I need to get my access to Pacer back. Pacer is the website that has all of the court documents on it. Now, the only problem is there are certain rules for using Pacer, and I have to make sure that sharing documents over a YouTube live stream does not violate those rules. Something tells me it might. So she says, I was working in litigation for 12 years, and I kind of got burnt out of working 24/7. And it's such a noble cause. And she says that being in the special forces kind of jibed with my physical pursuits. As an American, I was born with what I can only describe as an inexorable, indefatigable nature to dream. And so dream I do. Never forgetting it only it is only under the auspices. Sorry, I can't read tonight. Of auspices of this great nation's military, who protects my inalienable rights to do so, that I may. You can kind of tell that she's sort of like those Amazon writers who they want all of they keep hoping to have this great line that people use forever. I hope to serve as this country's first female Naval SEAL officer, so that there may be a second and a third and an infinitesimal many more female candidates who might impress upon you these shared values in the very same way. Reynolds, who is representing herself in her Brooklyn federal court age discrimination case against the U.S. Navy, claimed she was sworn into the Navy in Brooklyn in 2018, but, quote, was never assigned anywhere or deployed. Reynolds filled out enlistment paperwork in 2019, according to the Navy, which has no record of service for her. She then moved to Utah, where she worked as a lawyer, and revisited her enlistment in 2020, but she was arrested in July of 2020 for allegedly driving under the influence, a misdemeanor which was dismissed in 2023 when she returned to Long Island to chase her dreams of joining the SEALs, but found recruiters were quick to urge her to use her legal skills in the military's JAG Corps, which honestly I thought about for a little while. JAG, growing up, I'm young enough that I watched that show JAG growing up, and I always thought this would be a cool thing to do. It's actually very boring. I knew some people that went into the JAG Corps. It's incredibly boring. So what's really funny about this, let me see if I can find this. Here we go. So this is a pacer monitor. Just making sure I don't have any information on this. Yep. So this is a pacer monitor. They monitor the pacer website. And you can see if my account was active. I haven't used it in like 4 years, so it's inactive, so I can't pull anything up. But you'll see that she filed a lawsuit on April 11th of this year. She's got 4 attachments to the lawsuit. I really wish I could pull them up, but unfortunately, when I click it, I get told to start a trial, and I'm not paying $50 for this. But what I found really funny was, so she's representing herself, and of course, I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, any judge that represents, any lawyer that represents himself has a fool for a client, and that's 100% true. So a U.S. magistrate gets assigned to the case on April 14th, and this was the one that I really liked. So I'm going to read this real quick. So on April 30th, Reynolds filed the voluntary dismissal motion, which basically is saying that, hey, as the plaintiff, I wish to dismiss this action without prejudice, which basically means that I want to dismiss it, but I might want to bring it later. Let's see. That same day, Reynolds contacted the Eastern District of New York's pro se office to advise that the voluntary dismissal motion was, quote, incorrectly added to the docket. The following day, the pro se office responded to Reynolds, informing her that she would need to file a letter explaining her request to withdraw the incorrect entry. Later the same day, she had decided. Later the same day, Reynolds filed the withdrawal letter representing that the voluntary dismissal motion was not incorrectly added to the docket. So what this means is that 2 days earlier, she actually lied to the court. Rather, she had decided to withdraw the case, but then shortly after filing the voluntary dismissal motion, changed her mind and decided that she did, in fact, wish to proceed with this litigation. Now, no offense, Casey, but isn't that just like a woman? To make a decision and then change her mind. Lily, that's a really good point. She sounds stable. She sounds just like the people that we want as the tip of the spear fighting our nation's fight, right? The court let's see. The court granted Reynolds' request to withdraw the voluntary dismissal motion, saying that because the motion had not made it to the court's docket, she could withdraw it. But they did say that if you do this again, if you file a voluntary motion to dismiss and then decide later to change your mind, we will dismiss this with prejudice, meaning you won't be able to try this case. You will be out. So I think that's pretty interesting. I think it's really funny to see attorneys like this is the great example of a Rule 11 violation. Rule 11 in the federal rules of professional conduct, in the South Carolina rules of professional conduct, in most states' rules of professional conduct, means that you will not, as an attorney, you will not push your name to any argument, filing, motion, or lawsuit that you know not to be justiciably sound, meaning that you won't file lawsuits that you know are a waste of the court's time or do not have a genuine question of fact. And this is a great example of an attorney violating that oath, to the point that I would argue, wherever she's an attorney in New York, I would argue the New York bar should suspend her for this. This is the waste of the court's time and money. Let's see. Mash says maybe she found out that she could make a buttload of money from the attention if she keeps the lawsuit. Would not shock me. I have a feeling that we're going to use this video a lot.
He's a stupid son of a bitch.
I think that's going to be a very commonly. Sorry, I keep moving stuff around with my pen. I should really use my gavel. Just give me someone's head to bang here. My neighbors are going to love me. All right, so we're done with Reynolds. So at this point, what I want to do, and this is one of the things that I think we'll do throughout our time here, throughout any live stream, stuff like that, I want to ask if anyone has a question. So I'm gonna ad-lib for a little bit, and if anyone has a question, I would love to try and answer it. You know, one thing that I think people, one thing that I think people see, they see attorneys say things and they just assume that's right. And to the point that what I'll tell you right now is I might be wrong. There's a very good chance that I will be wrong about stuff that I say. There's also a very good chance that I'll be right about stuff I say. It's going to depend on what I'm talking about. There's going to be stuff that I will probably know about, let's say 80% of it. And it's going to be that 20% that's going to be the thing that I don't know. One really good example is the actually, this will be a good one. So Federal Reserve, everyone's ears just pop up. Everyone go, oh my God, the Fed, interest rates. So obviously, being in real estate, I'm interested in the Federal Reserve because risk it. I need to get one of those. Okay, there's number 2. Make a disclaimer. Okay, so did anyone ever watch Night Court, the NBC TV show from the 80s? I want to make an intro, and I'm thinking of using that as like a model, where instead of I was thinking about this was an idea I had months ago, where the intro would be like these great moments from different legal movies, legal dramas, stuff like that. But one of the things that I kind of like with those sort of things is like threading a message throughout it. Sort of like the Witten intro that I used to do. It kind of had like a story throughout it. And I just couldn't figure that out with the legal thing. But I think if I make the intro like that intro, and I'll give you a quick idea of what I'm talking about. Court intro. So present. Oh no, we do this. So this is what I'm talking about. So this sort of thing, that's sort of what I'm thinking. Obviously, no, I don't have other people there. Actually, this is actually more like what I was thinking of. This sort of thing where there's interchanging scenes from different law shit. That's what I'm thinking about doing. And so this idea is what I'm going to be working on over the weekend. If anyone has ideas for any media assets, clips, logos, any of that, I'm not sold on the logo that I have right now. It's my old Caleb for King's Advisors logo that we're using. Anyone got any ideas? Lay them on me. Tweet me. Join the Discord. Reply to a video. Any of that shit. Let's hear it. There are no dumb questions. Only dumb people. Okay. On to number 2. I didn't see any questions. Yes. Okay. Lily. Yes. Okay. So this is going to be something that I am relatively sure I have the right answer on. Okay. So district court judges. One thing I do want to get, hang on. There is a no, hang on. I'm trying to remember what I'm looking for. Article 3. I think it's Article 3. And my keyboard's being super slow. All right, here we go. So one thing that we need to remember is that most federal courts are actually Congress created. Most judges are created by acts of Congress. And this is going to be one of those cases that I could be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And I'm looking right now. Okay, so yes, I'm technically right about this. All right, so the only judges that the Constitution creates are Supreme Court justices and a federal judge. Technically. So the reason I say that is because Article 3, Section 1 says the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. So the Constitution does create federal judges. It creates the Supreme Court and whatever federal judges Congress says we need. But Congress creates the jurisdictions and all that shit. So Congress decides that there needs to be circuits, and those circuits are going to cover the states. In fact, let me pull up a map of the circuits. Is this it? Yes, it is. So here are the circuits, and I live in good old circuit number 4. And in circuit 4, we have what's called the rocket docket, which means we have one of the fastest circuit courts in the country, which is why we get a lot of shit done here. So you're asking, why does a federal judge sitting in California get to decide what happens over here in North Carolina? And the answer to that is they don't. They do and they don't. So let's say, give me someone that lives in California. John. Let's say John, who's a citizen of California, sues Ford. Okay? So John sues Ford because John hates that Ford makes cars that pollute the atmosphere. And a federal court in California says that Ford has to make sure that their cars only pollute 1/1000th of what they actually pollute. Well, that decision is binding on Ford, but it is not binding on South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas. It's binding on Ford because it's the punishment Ford's receiving for losing that case. But it's only binding in the Ninth Circuit. It's what's up, Canalus? It is persuasive in all 12, right? Or is it 11? It is persuasive in all 11 circuits, but it's not binding in all 11 circuits because a federal judge in California is not a federal judge in the Fourth Circuit. So you can go before the federal courts in the Fourth Circuit and argue a federal judge in California said this, but that doesn't mean that the federal judges in North Carolina have to listen to them. Now, all federal judges have to listen to the Supreme Court, but they don't have to. But they don't have to listen to each other. A federal judge in California can decide, in the Northern District of California, can decide that the federal judge in the Southern District of California is wrong and go a different way. That's the shit. Now, to really answer your question. So let's use the Judge Whitehead in Oregon. So Judge Whitehead issues an injunction. Actually, he didn't issue an injunction. Let's use the dumbass in DC. So that guy in DC issues an injunction, says that Donald Trump's executive order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is unconstitutional and he can't do it. So that's not what has actually happened. That's what the news tell us has happened, but that's not what happened. That district judge issued an injunction preventing the federal government from implementing the policies that will stem from the executive order. They now have to go before that judge and argue the case. If that judge rules against the thanks, Lily, that's very true. If that judge rules against the U.S. government, and then the U.S. government will appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it is very likely that the Supreme Court will rule for the government for several reasons. One of them is obviously that the Supreme Court is a majority conservative court right now. The other is the fact that the Supreme Court will give great deference to the government on just about anything. They will usually rule that the government knows what they're doing. Comics Dad, dude, see you later, man. Have fun. I assume you're getting ready to go play some more Expedition 33, so I hope you have fun. So yeah, Lily, I hope that answers your question. That it's really not what it sounds like is happening. There's a lot of there's a lot of sensationalism when these judges do these TROs and these injunctions, but it's not as bad as it sounds. The media likes to make it sound like the courts are against Trump, and they're really not. I mean, we've already seen we actually saw it during Biden's presidency. The Ninth Circuit, which is California, you can see right here, has sided with the conservative viewpoint several times. I mean, they even struck down some crazy gun laws in California because they were too restrictive, and that's unheard of before Trump turned that circuit purple. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Doe v. the National Football League. So I'm curious, has anyone heard about this lawsuit? John Doe versus the NFL. It's a case out of Georgia, out of the Northern District of Georgia in Atlanta. So this is a citizen of Atlanta suing the National Football League. So we're going to kind of break this down. I'm not going to, obviously, Northern District of Georgia, Atlanta, they are in federal court. Well, why are they in federal court? It's actually, why are they in federal court? Because it's a federal question. That's right. So they are claiming that there's a federal question to be answered by the federal court. I've said this before. No one will remember, but that's okay. There are two. I always want to say there's three, but I believe it's just two. There are two ways to enter federal court. You have a federal question, which is basically civil rights, election law, interstate commerce, copyright, bankruptcy, stuff like that. Stuff dealing with the United States Constitution or U.S. law. Or you can be in diversity. And what that means is that the plaintiff, or actually, let me scroll back up here. What that means is that, see this versus right here? That the same state is not represented on both sides. So because the National Football League operates in the state of Georgia and has a significant operation in the state of Georgia, not just like they drive through Georgia to get to Florida. They have a team in Georgia. Because of that, you can't be in federal court for diversity because Georgia is on both sides. So they are claiming, this guy is claiming that there is a federal question in this lawsuit. Claims that violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act and the Civil Rights Act. So you're probably sitting there going, oh my God, what is this? Whoa, hang on a second. What does this mean? I've never seen this before. Forma. I'm going to assume that this means I'm too poor to pay. Popper. Okay, so this guy is claiming that he is asking that all fees be paid. Let's see, waived or paid. Hang on. All right, so forma pauperis basically means that I can't afford to file my lawsuit. And we have this so that if there is an actual indigent person, someone that actually is poor, and we cannot lock them out of the system. They need to be able to access it. So what you do is you file a motion to proceed in forma pauperis, and you attach that motion to your complaint, and the court decides whether or not you're, I guess, poor enough to proceed. Here we go, guys. This is the factual background of this case, and this is gorgeous. Let me know who you think filed this lawsuit after. The plaintiff is a dedicated fan of Colorado football and has closely followed Shedeur Sanders throughout the 2023 and 2024 seasons. Plaintiff attended the Colorado Buffaloes' first game against the TCU Horned Frogs on September 2nd, 2023, witnessing firsthand Sanders' exceptional talent and potential as a quarterback in Coach Deion Sanders' debut with the program. Okay, the very first thing I want to do, let's see, Colorado versus TCU, 2023. Colorado won 45-42. Shedeur Sanders went 38-47, 510 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's actually a pretty damn good game. Let's see, with 0 interceptions. Yeah, so that's a solid game. That's beyond solid. That's actually a career-making game. Plaintiff regularly consumes media content related to Shedeur Sanders, including programming from well-off media. Despite Sanders' demonstrated skills and significant attention during the 23 and 24 seasons, the NFL drafted him at the 144th pick during the 2025 NFL Draft. Reports and leaked statements suggest that Sanders' tanked interviews, wasn't prepared, and was too cocky, which contributed to a narrative that has unjustly harmed his reputation and potential as a player. These slanderous statements reflect biases that influence the NFL's decision-making process, causing emotional distress and trauma to the plaintiff as a fan and consumer. Now, you might be sitting here wondering, is he just going to read the lawsuit and talk a little bit about it? Are we actually going to learn anything? And the answer would be yes to both. I am going to try to not necessarily teach, but explain why this lawsuit is dumb as hell. For a couple reasons. One, a layman definitely wouldn't know. We know that this isn't being filed by an attorney because an attorney would not have attached the motion for what do we call it? Pauperis? Whatever. I forget what it's called now. Former pauperis. Claims for relief. Plaintiff alleges the following claims against the defendant. Violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. The collusion among, and this is actually the only one that there could be there is a question of fact for a jury or for a fact finder in A. There definitely is not a question of fact for a violation of civil rights. There's also not a question of fact for intentional infliction of emotional distress and trauma. So let's read this. Violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. The collusion among NFL teams to influence the drafting process and the subsequent low selection of Shedeur Sanders constitutes a conspiracy to restrain, trade, and limit competition within the league. Does claimant have standing? I would say that he probably has the standing to bring this lawsuit in regards to a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. I do not think he has standing on either of the others. I don't believe you can bring a lawsuit in violation of someone else's civil rights. You also cannot bring a lawsuit unless you are a parent of a dead child or I think, child of a dead parent for the infliction of emotional distress of someone else's distress. So this guy argues that the NFL violated Shedeur Sanders' civil rights, claiming that there are comments that prove that this was a racist decision to draft him at 144. Well, if that was true, Cam Ward, drafted number 1 overall, also a quarterback, also black. Where's the violation of civil rights there? But this is where I want to get at. This is where I want to talk. So, intentional infliction of emotional distress and trauma. Okay, well, first off, that doesn't make any sense. It's not and trauma. It's just IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. He claims that the NFL's actions and the dissemination of slanderous statements have caused severe emotional distress and trauma to the plaintiff, resulting in frustration, disappointment, and psychological harm as a fan. Okay, this is bullshit. I mean, this is, if an attorney filed this, I would call his state bar and tell them to disbar him. I genuinely believe this is disbarable. This is wild. First off, there is nobody is a big enough football fan to claim intentional infliction of emotional distress over the drafting of a player. Nobody. I mean, this is wild. And what I want to do is pull up my old notes. My IIED notes. I'm looking for it. Actually, this will work. So let me bring this over and split my screen here. So here are the requirements to show IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The defendant, in this case, the NFL, their conduct has to be extreme and outrageous. Well, I would argue that forcing teams not to draft someone is outrageous and extreme. So, sure. The defendant acted intentionally or recklessly. Well, it would be intentional. The defendant's conduct caused the plaintiff's emotional distress, and the distress was severe. So here's the deal. You could argue that we don't know how he's actually feeling. We can't read his mind. But that's dumb because, again, it's a fucking football game. There's nothing severe about this. There's nothing to cause distress. What's up, C&D Designs? The plaintiff must have suffered significant emotional harm as a result of the defendant's actions. How do you show this? How do you show that you have emotional harm? Well, you could call a doctor, you get examined by a shrink, and that shrink testifies that you have anxiety, depression, PTSD, things like that. But I will say again, the person that gets the man, because this is John Doe, so we know it's a guy, the man that gets PTSD because a football player from and remember, this guy's in Atlanta, so it's not like he's a Bulldogs fan or a what's Georgia Tech? The Gold Hornets? Nope. Georgia Tech. Yellow Jackets. Or a Yellow Jackets fan. It's not like he's one of them. He's a Colorado fan. Like, you're not going to convince a jury or a judge that you have actual emotional distress from something happening in the NFL, from a team that you are 1,200 miles away from. So Mash, that's the question. Who's the plaintiff? Well, it sounds like it might be Dion. So this is kind of the thing that I think is really funny. Relief sought. So he wants a formal acknowledgement from the NFL regarding the emotional distress caused by their actions and statements. A retraction of the slanderous statements made about Shedeur Sanders, along with an apology for any harm caused to his reputation. Implementation of fairer practices in the drafting process to ensure that talented players are recognized and given opportunities based on merit. Now, excuse me. If this was it, this would be kind of reasonable, don't y'all think? Like, let's say everything, obviously the stuff above this is silly, dumb, all that shit. But these are reasonable requests. If your whole thing is, I want to fix the system, I think the NFL messed up, these are reasonable things to demand. So that has to be it, right? Like there's nothing. Oh, wait. Punitive damages in the amount of $100 million for the harm caused to the plaintiff and the impact of the NFL's action on his emotional well-being. A dude fell 3 rounds in the draft and it's worth $100 million. We don't even pay them $100 million. What are you thinking? How does that happen? How do you think that? And this is what's so annoying about that. Reasonable. Fucking nuts. 100 nuts. I'm assuming you mean combine and not that name of school, but sure. Plaintiff requests that the court consider this complaint and take appropriate action to address the intentional emotional distress and trauma suffered as a result of the NFL's collusive practices and the harmful statements made regarding Shedeur Sanders. Respectfully submitted the first day of May 2025. Can we actually see the motion? We don't get to see the motion. Hang on. Risk it. How did combine autocorrect to Columbine? Like, what are you talking about that it autocorrects that much, buddy? Are you okay? Do we need to talk to somebody? So that's it for tonight's episode of the dumbest lawsuit I've seen this year. What is everyone's thoughts in regards to that lawsuit? I mean, I know what mine are.
He's a stupid son of a bitch.
Yes. So Judge Janine, that's the Fox News lady, right? Yeah. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of media personalities becoming stuff like that. What's up, Rob? Sue the F out of everyone. Well, oh, dude, but you'd have to be risky. Wouldn't you have to be a complete retard to hold your fantasy draft prior to the actual draft? Wouldn't you have to be an idiot to do that? Especially a dynasty league. So I'm not C&D, to answer your question. I'm not a huge fan of that pick. Judge Janine has been a TV personality for I think almost 20 years, right? I mean, when's the last time Piero briefly sought the Republican nomination for a U.S. Senate to run against Clinton in 2006. She was New York Attorney General. She lost the general election to Andrew Cuomo. So she hasn't practiced since 2008. Yeah, so zero. That is a very good point, man. The Sherman antitrust complaint is a decent complaint, and it's a complaint that you'll see every single lawsuit against a major league sport have in it. Every single time someone sues the NCAA, it has the Sherman Antitrust Act in it. Every single time someone sues the MLB, it has the Sherman Antitrust Act in it. So it's a decent thing. And also, Elaine, yes, Hesketh was on Fox News, but if I remember correctly, Hesketh started working, let's see. Started working for Fox News at 14. So Hesketh has military service from 03 to 06, 10 to 14, and 19 through 21. So what was he doing in 21? So he was in the District of Columbia Army National Guard in as late as 2021. So that's a little different. Like, he was still experiencing that world and that life that he is now in charge of. Judge Janine hasn't been in that world, hasn't been now there, and there is argument to be made that, this is definitely an administration of relative outsiders in a way, that they're not entrenched politicians. They're not people that have the 30 years of experience doing the stuff, because those are clearly not the people we want in these positions. If you end up being in that position for 20 years, you clearly are kissing too much ass. So there's definitely an argument to be made, Elaine, that having an outsider be the what's the position again? The U.S. Attorney for D.C. is a good thing. I think the law requires specific things, and I think having an up-to-date, I mean, do we even know if her bar card is up to date? I would have assumed that she probably would have let it lapse by now, just because she wasn't doing it anymore. I mean, of course, that is something that they can easily fix, and I'm sure they will if she gets confirmed. But she still has to be confirmed, I believe, and I just find it hard to believe she'll get past the Senate. Doesn't she? Do U.S. attorneys have to be confirmed by the Senate? Yes. Yeah, they do. Yeah, Elaine. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. I think she's a little too TV. the other thing you got, the other issue is these U.S. attorneys, they've got to have strong stomachs, and because they see shit, they see some crazy shit. I remember when I was in high school, we were able to. The University of South Carolina has a National Advocacy Center, and it's where every U.S. attorney goes to basically learn how to do their job better. And so we were actually able to go be their jury for an entire trial. And I believe we were there for a day, and they said they held like basically a mini trial. And then we all broke apart and we all argued, and we were like, I remember like recreating the crime. I had everyone on the table doing shit. Like I was the foreman and I was fucking in charge. You were going to listen to me. I remember fighting with the other guy on the other side of the table, telling him why he was wrong. Real good friend of mine. And it was funny because the teachers that went with us, they were in like this big room that they could switch the TV to everyone's jury room. And you could see, and they told us this after, that everyone's jury room, they were all calm. They were all sitting around the table, kind of going, no, this and this. We think this is the correct evidence. And then they switched to our room, and it was just like freaking craziness. Well, look at that. What's up, people from Wicked's World? It's not Wicked's World, is it? Yes, it is. How's everyone doing? What's up, Wicked and Cajun Corey and Psychotic and Jonathan Stevie and Zintz? I'm going to run out of names, guys. Mark of Reality. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Wow, I've never seen so many people before. How are y'all doing tonight? It's actually a good thing that you're coming in now. We're getting to kind of the meat of the stream. And the meat of the stream is, in my opinion, one of the funniest things I've ever seen come out of a courtroom. So some of y'all may be aware of this, but Bungie is being sued. Matthew Martinet is suing Bungie. He is a writer. What's up, everyone? Still coming in. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. This guy is a writer. He has a WordPress blog, apparently. And he is claiming that Bungie stole his idea to do their Red War storyline. Yes, Clyde, no heart attacks tonight. We'll do heart. If y'all want, you can do heart attacks tomorrow night, but we can't do them tonight. No monetization yet. We're gonna have to get those watch hours up. We're at let's see, I think last time I looked, we were at 4. So we got a ways to go. So he's claiming, and I'm not really going to go into this one like I did the last two, but he is claiming that Bungie basically went on WordPress, Google, and searched, sci-fi stories, and copied his story to do their Red War storyline. I don't know if anyone played Destiny 2. I stopped playing Destiny 2 about a month after it came out, so I have no idea what this storyline is. But he is arguing copyright infringement. Now, everyone has a copyright to what they write. So let's say I write a story here. John went to town on a pony. Okay. So I have a copyright to that story. I own it. You can't make money off of this. The problem is that if Casey Cheeto wakes up tomorrow and writes the same story, and files her copyright, she can stop me from making money off of my story. So how do I prove that I beat her in the race to make that story? How do I prove that I'm first in time? Well, one way that people do it is they create what's called a poor man's copyright. And they write everything out that they want and they mail it to themselves. And that sealed envelope, as well as the postmark, acts as proof of when the story was put in the mail. So technically saying that it would act as proof that I created the story at least prior to this date. So if I were to take this, stick it in an envelope and mail it out, let's say Casey actually writes the story next Tuesday. So if I stick this in an envelope, put it in the mailbox tomorrow, then I will have a sealed, canceled envelope, because that mark over a stamp is a cancellation of the stamp. A sealed envelope that shows that this story is, for me, 4 days old, whereas when she goes to file it on Tuesday, it'll show that hers is only a day old. So that's a poor man's copyright. Obviously, with WordPress, you put it out there online, you still own the copyright, and you have a way of proving when you create, at least when the final draft of that story was created. So he's claiming that the names, the capabilities of the actor, of the characters, enemies, stuff like that, are way too similar. Let's see. And again, so here's I love talking about this shit. They are in federal court, Eastern District of Louisiana. So why are they in federal court, guys? Because there is they actually might be in federal court for multiple reasons. There's definitely a federal question. The copyright law is federal. It's not state held, it's federal. So if you sue someone for copyright infringement or trademark violation, patent infringement, any of that stuff, you end up in federal court. Bungie is a Delaware corporation. Matthew, I'm assuming this is interesting. Why are they in Louisiana? Huh. Sorry, I'm really interested now. Where is your venue? So he is claiming that venue is proper in Louisiana because there's a judicial district in Louisiana. He is so this is what's interesting. Usually where you usually have to file your lawsuit, especially a federal lawsuit, in the state that or technically it should be district, but state works. In the state that the crime took place, where the defendant is at home, if it's a person. If it's a corporation, it's where the defendant's principal place of business is, or where they're incorporated. So Bungie, it says up here, is a Delaware corporation. So venue, which is where the lawsuit is being held, venue is proper in Delaware. And Matthew is arguing that venue is proper in Louisiana. I'm assuming that means he's a resident of the Eastern District of Louisiana. He is arguing that venue is proper in there because the theft of his copyright took place on the internet. And this is really interesting. I really like this. Yes, market reality. So I'm going to assume you're an attorney then. I mean, that is what's the case? The shoes case. The market reality. What case am I thinking of? The shoes in Washington, right? Washington International Shoe. Minimum contacts. Yep. I just got PTSD, man. Oh, I love this, dude. You're gonna be one of my favorites. Okay, so this is what. So that we got an amended complaint, still filed in the Eastern District. Yep. Erie is just Erie Doctrine. International Shoe is definitely what I was thinking of. So we have an amended complaint. I want to see what the actual complaint is, though. So obviously he's claiming copyright infringement. Let me see when Red War campaign of Destiny 2. I want to know when this storyline started. Does anybody know? Here we go. The Red War. Destiny fan wiki. Right, but when did it start? Wow, the Destiny wiki sucks. Started September 6, 2017. So he wrote this story, I guess, under the pen name Casper Cole in 13 and 14. The story came out in 17, so that basically means he's claiming 3 years prior to the release of their story, this guy's work was stolen. 3 years, it's possible. 3 years is long enough to do it. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing, guys. Sorry. No, hang on. There we go. Whoa. Let's see. This is just an explanation of how WordPress uses. One of the things that you'll find if you ever have an interest in like venturing down complaints and shit like that, like I'm sure a lot of people are following the Gina Carano stuff. If you ever have an interest in going through that stuff, the biggest issue with like reading these things is there's a lot of boring shit in it. And it's because basically when you're writing a complaint, you have to treat the judge like an idiot. You have to assume he doesn't know anything. So like how we did in law school was, I love using this example. So we'd have for contracts, we would have a big old fact pattern. A fact pattern looks something like this, tells a story. And there's a question at the end, basically, is there a contract? Well, how do you answer that? There's a contract because a contract is an offer and acceptance. What's an offer? An offer is anything that, I'm forgetting it. An offer is what compels you to finish the task. It has to pass the benefit detriment test and the offer for exchange test. The benefit detriment test means that both parties benefit and both parties lose something. The offer for exchange test means that what you get out of the contract has to be what made you start the contract. Acceptance is, it's just so that's how you treat these judges. You literally define everything. So that's why things like venue, like jurisdiction venue, I'm a little surprised it's this small. Some of the ones I've written are actually quite larger than this, but that you literally, like every single step, you explain why venue is proper, because that's one of the things that you can get kicked out for. His work is imaginative and involves a well-developed cohesive storyline. Let's see. Introduces the notorious Red Legion, a powerful military force that is embroiled in an unending cycle of warfare through these locations, including the Land of the Crimson Sky, a territory seized by the Red Legion. So, using that example, what he's going to try to do is prove that in the Red War campaign, there is a similarity that cannot be explained by coincidence. That is beyond coincidence that Bungie's writers just thought, hey, what if the bad guys wore a lot of red? Let's call them the Red Legion. Let's say that they come from the land of red. Let's say that, this conflict has been going on for centuries. So that's what Martineau's case is going to be, trying to prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence, not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is criminal. Preponderance of the evidence is civil. Basically means that it's more likely than not. But this isn't what's so funny about this, guys. This is what's really funny about this. So, Bungie filed a motion to dismiss. Of course they did. Why would you not? They filed a motion to dismiss. They said the courts can and should dismiss based on a side-by-side comparison, basically saying, like, here is Martineau's work and here is our work. Look at them. They're not close enough. They're not the same. The court may consider the video exhibits attached to Bungie's motion. Bungie has provided video of the campaign and said that here is the story. This is why, and you can see from this campaign that's different enough from Martineau's story that it's not, there's no question of fact here. Martineau fails to allege direct evidence of copying. The court should not, where's number 4? This is funny. They fucked up. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. The court should not rely on Martineau's allegations of striking similarity. I forget what striking similarity is. I'll look that up later. The court should not rely on Martineau's list of alleged similarities, and the court should filter out unprotectable elements during comparison. So this is what's really funny about this, guys. If you don't know, Destiny 2 is a very, very big game. And I don't mean popular. I mean the file sizes are huge. It was getting comically big to the point that Bungie made the decision to take half of the game, the first 3 years of the game, and lock it in a vault. You can no longer play it. They also locked it in that vault from themselves. They cannot access the storyline at Bungie HQ. It is gone. So, because of that, the court rejected their motion. Said that now, this isn't as crazy as it sounds, but I still think it's hilarious. So, because they are not able to access the stuff, the court said that the use of those videos is not okay in a motion to dismiss. You can use the videos in your defense, but you cannot use them in a motion to dismiss because they are not created by you. They're created by someone else. So we can't know that they are legitimate versions of your story. I think it's a decent argument, but it is hilarious. Because I remember thinking when this happened, when Bungie decided to lock all that stuff behind their vault, that it sucked because that means no one is ever going to be able to play that part of the story again. Like, it's gone forever for people now. And as this so happens, it's now gone for Bungie. Like, I just kind of figured Bungie just turned the sliders to no, on the giant server. I didn't think they actually basically pressed delete. That seems dumb. And this is an example of why you always back up your work. And market reality, exactly. They've come up with a reasonable alternative explanation that jury won't think is laughably bullshit. So, Martineau has passed a motion to dismiss. And also, market reality, I would love for you to fact check me on what I'm about to say. But be nice about it, please. So, when a motion to dismiss, a motion in limine, a motion for a directed verdict, a motion for what's the other one? The really common one. A motion. Shit. Hang on, guys. Motion. Course. Motion for summary judgment. So, a motion for a summary judgment. I'm going to explain this one. I'm not going to explain motion in limine or any of the other ones because I don't really remember them. I think a motion in limine is during the hearing. No, Mark, motion for summary. So when a plaintiff or a defendant files a motion, the court has to look at the facts of the case in the light most appealing to the non-moving party. And what that means is the party that files the motion is a moving party. So if in this case, Bungie has filed the motion saying there's no legitimate question of fact, this case should be dismissed. So they have to so the court has to look at the facts as the most appealing to Martineau. So basically that's saying that you have to assume that if there are questions in the questions in this case, that they are going to be pro Martineau. The answer is pro Martineau. So that's one of the reasons why they didn't pass the motion to dismiss, is because the judge looks at the case and says, there are actual questions of fact for a jury. You can't just dismiss a case if there's an actual question of fact to be answered. And so that is definitely one of the reasons why it Calamari. Dude, reality, absolutely. 35 plus criminal trials, but I have Calamari, and I can never say his name, Perillo, on my bookshelf. And I've got none of that because I do real estate and I don't have to worry about stupid clients. Sorry, I take that back. I don't have to worry about judges. I do have to worry about stupid clients. So we're going to end with something a little more close to my neck of the woods in real estate. So I'm sure we all saw the news that the Federal Reserve is not going to raise or is not going to lower interest rates. This really annoys me because I want to buy a house next December or late next year. And I need that interest rate to start going down. And if they don't lower it again this year, I don't think it's going to get to what I want it to be at in order to get the interest rate I want. Because I don't want to be paying $1,800 a month with my mortgage and escrow account. I don't want that shit. I want to be down to like $1,300. Let's go, bitches. So I was curious as to whether or not Donald Trump could remove the members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. And turns out I might have stumbled on something rather interesting. So I tell y'all right now, if you got questions, ask them, go ahead. But if you're ever looking for a quick answer, Grok is fucking awesome. Mark Reality, have you started using any AI shit for your like cases and trials and shit like that? Because it is awesome. If this shit had been out while I was in law school, I would have been an A+ student. So, and we're going to give a little bit of background to why I think this is an interesting thing. So, in 1935, there was a Supreme Court case called Humphrey's Executor versus the United States. And this case said that senior members of, what was the phrase? Where was it? Independent regulatory agencies. So agencies like the FTC, the FAA, and with just that definition, the Federal Reserve could not be removed without just cause. Basically saying they have to do their job incorrectly to fire them. And that's because Humphrey was, I believe, a regulator at like the FTC. Yeah. He was the commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission. He was appointed by Hoover. He was later removed by FDR for political differences. And the Supreme Court ruled that FDR could not remove him because there was no just cause to remove him. But in their decision, they said agencies that, quote, sorry, I lost it again. Agencies that, quote, perform quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial functions cannot be removed simply for basically political reasons. And it was a change from the precedent that had been set by Myers v. U.S., which was where was that also FDR? I think that might have also been. No, who's president in 26? 1926. Is that also Hoover? Coolidge. Coolidge fired a postmaster general. Well, it wasn't actually a postmaster general. He was what was he? He was a first-class postmaster, which are just, senior postmasters. I think every state has a first-class postmaster. And so Coolidge fires this guy, and that guy Myers sues and says, you don't hire me. The Senate hires me. It was one of the first tests on the difference between advice and consent and an appointment. So someone, I forget who it was, appointed this Myers guy, and Coolidge didn't like what he was doing, so he fired him. Now, the court held that the president can fire all senior members of the government for whatever reason. So that's why when Trump fires someone, and it's kind of like, well, I mean, they only disagreed with him. Doesn't matter. He's the fucking chief executive. He has the right as the chief executive to make sure that everyone in his government follows his vision. Now, the question here is, can he fire members of the Federal Reserve so that he can then appoint people who at least have a similarity of a shared vision? And the answer is maybe, which would be awesome, because we already know he doesn't like that chairman dude who's a Russell something, I think. So one of the requirements, power. Yeah, one of the requirements to be able to be fired by the president is you have to be hired by him. You have the office of the president has to appoint you. Well, all 12 members of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve are appointed by the president. It's not the same president because they serve 12-year terms and they're staggered. But the president does appoint those positions. They're also not a quasi-legislative or quasi-judicial body. They don't make rules and laws and procedure like the FTC does. So this would be, in my opinion, the coolest thing that Trump does. Even if he does everything that he says he wants to do, if he manages to fire members of the Federal Reserve and hire the people that he wants, I think we're looking at like 1.2% interest rates. Like, this would be awesome. Thoughts? Anyone got any thoughts about that? I'm sure everyone's got thoughts about the Federal Reserve. Exactly, market reality. But see, that's the thing. And see, here's the thing, market reality. I'm just gonna start saying MOR, okay? The thing that's bullshit about interest is, let's say you get a $200,000 house loan at 5% interest. You're not paying back 5% of $200,000. No. You get let's see. Mortgage calculator. Y'all want to get angry. Y'all want to get super angry? Look at this shit. I really need to get better at this. Share this tab instead. Bring it back on. Let's not even talk about down payment and shit like that. This is way more complicated than I want it to be. Actually, I mean, this will work. You get a let's say you have an FHA loan, so you don't have to put anything down. 30-year, $400,000. What's your total payment? Total payment, $924,000. Look at this. You get a $400,000 loan, and your total interest is on a 6.6% rate. $524,000. That is fucking criminal. And I'll tell you right, the fact that our parents, our grandparents let that happen is bullshit. Damn right. Clyde, you can have opinions. They just have to be the correct one. Yeah, this is that thing that they were talking about a while back, where they were trying to explain why Trump was, quote unquote, trying to crash the economy, right? So yeah, that's what's so crazy about this shit. Let's look at this again. Let's be a little more reasonable, okay? Let's look at South Carolina. So if I'm right, I believe the average home loan here in South Carolina is about $220,000. Down payment, let's say you put $5,000 down, 30-year term, and let's say you get lucky, you get a 5.5% interest rate. Oh shit, money. Shit, that's actually not bad, a monthly payment. But still, total payment, you're paying more than your entire loan was in interest. That's just bullshit. You agree with Jay? There's no Jay here. It's just me. 13% in the 90s? So this is the problem, okay? We've had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15% before. You know, when my dad got his house in 2000, that sounds about right. 1999, 2000. I think his interest rate, because we've talked about it once, I think he told me his interest rate was like 7.2%. So we've had that. The problem is the dollar is so shit compared to what it was even 10 years ago that we're paying way too much. I remember I was talking to someone today, and we were talking about what our rent in college was. I had a roommate in college. We had a 2-bed, 2-bath. Let's say 900 square feet. Okay. It was nothing. They were college apartments, so nothing grand. And I was paying $650. Now if I had a roommate now, it'd be a lot better, a lot easier. I'd have a lot more money. But that's just wild to think about how crazy rent has become as well. And yeah, exactly right, Stevie. Refinancing was extremely popular in the early 2000s. It's also why it was extremely popular in 2020 as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. I actually here's a little piece of advice for you, for anyone. If you get one of those portable air conditioners, do not run it for 15 hours a day. Okay. Your electric bill will go from being $120 a day or a month to $400. Do not do that. I did that by accident last July. I finally finished paying everything in October. Like, it was holy shit. It was not expected. Clyde, you want to bet? I'm kidding. Give me money. Anybody got any questions before we hang it up here? Before we defrock the judge? Yes, risk it. Obviously, this is not legal advice, people. I am not carrying E&O. I do not have malpractice insurance for YouTube. That would be wild. Maybe I'll get it one day. Clyde, I'm thinking about it. I think I'm going to get one for like the first monetized stream. I think I'll get, but I'm not. So Clyde, I'm not thinking one of the long wigs. I want one of just the top ones that they wear over in Australia. I like those a lot better. So, guys, any questions? Lurkers, anything? We love the lurkers over here. So if you're not talking, we love you. If you have any questions, please ask. Again, it's not legal advice, but they are ideas that might help, might let you know why what someone is saying is bullshit. Have I thought about hosting debates between disagreements? So maybe. One thing that I would really like to do, y'all remember Film Threat and Chris Gore did that Star Wars on trial thing where they put Star Wars on trial, and there were like, I think 30 different YouTubers that like were the prosecution, the defense, and shit like that. So I really like that. And I was thinking about maybe doing something like that once or twice a year, where, maybe over the course of 2 months, we do a trial where we maybe one of them is we put Dan and Dave on trial for what they did to season 8 of Game of Thrones. The other thing I was thinking about is, and another leg of that type of idea is there's all of these kind of opinions about fandom. One of them, and this is one of the ones I was thinking of, and Jay kind of yelled at me for thinking about this, but I'm sure we've all heard the whole Marsha Lucas saved Star Wars thing. And I think it would be fun to have a hearing on that. Like, let's have a judge, me, make a ruling. Did Marsha Lucas save Star Wars? And stuff like that. I'd find like a Star Wars YouTuber that on both sides, I'd find someone that would say, absolutely not, she didn't. She had nothing to do with it. She was at best in the room when all the editing was done. And then I'd have someone that, went to the books and was like, this shows, okay, here's the evidence. She was in the room for these things. Here's the interview. This shows that there was a causal relationship between her working on the movie and this scene being in it. And this scene is the thing that makes the movie so good. Something like that. You can tell I haven't thought about it at all. But beyond that, right now, I'm thinking that King's Advisors, I think, is going to be video game streams and my live stream, the state of, with a video every now and then. When TV shows that I'm really interested come out, like Night of the Seven Kingdoms later this year, I will do videos on that. I might do live streams on it, maybe Sunday night after it I do something, or Monday night. I don't know if I want to try to compete with Neurotic on that. And then, but right now, I think King's Advisors is just going to be live streams with, a video here and there. This is going to be very heavy video, I think. Obviously, the Trump administration makes for some great videos between judges thinking that they can do whatever they want, even though, in a sense, they can. Their injunction power gives them a wide birth of power, which is in ways unfortunate. But look, we all hate that it's going against the ones that we want, but let's not forget that we were cheering when the Affordable Care Act had an injunction placed on it, when a bunch of Biden stuff had injunctions. They were just a lot less of them. So that door does swing both ways. Oh, holy shit, Mark. I'm honored. Absolutely. Shoot me. Do you have are you on Discord or Twitter? Oh, Mash. Yes, thank you. Okay. We're not gonna break yet. I do want actually no. Mash, I didn't do enough homework for that. If I was gonna talk about that right now, it would literally be me looking up Grok, what the lawsuit's about. I'm very vaguely familiar. I know that the lawsuit is basically them claiming that they've copied their game. I think it's kind of a crappy lawsuit when things like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh exist. I don't think you can sit there and claim that Pal Worlds is a close enough ripoff when Digimon isn't. I also don't think you can claim it's a good enough ripoff of your video games when it's, as I understand it, open world and quite different from Pokemon. But I also, sorry guys, never played Pokemon or have even owned a Pokemon card, so I don't know almost jack shit about Pokemon. I know the yellow one's Pikachu, and that's about it. What's up, Lean Back? So yeah, Market Reality, hit me up on Twitter, Discord. If Casey or Risk It want to drop the link in the Discord in the comments. But I do think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Everyone, thank y'all so much. I am beyond appreciative of everyone being here. Everyone that stayed from Wicked's raid, thank you for staying. I seriously, I think 35 is the largest amount that I've ever had on a live stream. I hope y'all enjoy this. Clearly, there is a desire for this sort of stuff in the space that we're all in. So I really hope, I've said it before at the end of some of the videos. If y'all have ideas, if there's stuff that you're curious about, hit me up, comment on the videos, tweet at me, drop it, send me a DM on Discord. I would love to try to answer and try to provide as much of an answer as I can give. I spend a bunch of time on the videos, at least the Market Reality. It's King's Advisors _ I spent a bunch of time on the videos. Almost every single video I've done on here has taken over an hour and a half, because not only do I sit down and I kind of have the idea about what I want to say, but I research what I'm saying. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is correct. There are things, I'm sure that as this grows, I'm going to get comments on old videos and new videos that say, you're wrong because of this. And at the end of the day, that's very possible. Because if an attorney tells you that he knows what the truth is, he's a liar, because he doesn't. I have a decent idea of what a judge might say, but I'm not in that man's head. I do not know what he's going to say. So, again, beyond appreciative. I hope y'all have a great night. I hope y'all are excited and ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got the return of Patches and Rum. We're talking Henry Jennings. We're going to finish out the story of the Pirate Republic of Nassau. We've done Benjamin Hornigold. We've done Black Sam Bellamy. We've done Black Caesar, Blackbeard, all that. But we're finally going to do Henry Jennings. Can't wait. And, of course, we're going to be sailing after that. I hope to see y'all there. And don't forget to come over to my chat, because we're much cooler. Guys, peace out. I hope y'all have a great night, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Hang on. Where is it? There we go.